Shane Woewodin was on a big contract at Melbourne, and we'd met with the Demons throughout the course of the year, with Danny Corcoran, with the coach, Neil Danaher, and Neil said, look, you've got 3 years to go in your contract, or 2 years I think you had to go in his contract. We wouldn't look at trading you this year, but if we can't do an adjustment on your current contract, we'd look at potentially looking at trading you next year, but we couldn't do it at the moment. I think there's 2 years left for his contract, which was surprising.
It's the second shock this month for Shane Woewodin. After surviving the Bali Bombs, his time at Melbourne is set to come to an end. Placed on a lucrative contract in the vicinity of $500,000 a year after he won the Brownlow Medal, Collingwood is likely to become his new home.
I get a phone call from Melbourne. I'm actually in the middle of drafting an email to say, all right, we'll accept less this year, but we'll extend while we have by another year or whatever it was going to be. So I'm in the middle of drafting an email, and I get a call from someone telling me that there's a trade's been done, and then Collingwood rang me, Neil Barn, said, we're going to do this deal. And I said, what deal are you talking about? He said, we want Woewodin. And I said, I was just stunned. I said, what are you talking about?
The Demons didn't think there'd be any takers for Woewodin because of the size of his contract, believed to be around $450,000 a season.
The midfielder became the Pies' focus yesterday after they missed out on Kane Johnson. Talks between the two clubs began on trade day.
We were surprised. We didn't know it was coming. You can't sit here and say, we'd planned it for years and years. We'd just come off playing in a grand final. We thought we were, not too far away. And anyway, Melbourne sort of came up with the proposal, would you be interested in Shane Woewodin? And then Shane, I don't know if he'd been injured, but I don't think he finished really high in their best and fairest that particular year. And I think a couple of years before that, obviously, he won the Brownlow.
I was sitting in the office on a Saturday afternoon. Trade week went for 5 days then, including over a weekend. So I was working the phones, and I just thought, well, I'll ring Melbourne footy manager Danny Corcoran to see what's around. He worked through my list and rang him. I said, Danny, what's going on? He said, we've just traded Shane Woewodin to Collingwood.
They think they had a deal. Shane still had to agree to it. He was contracted. So it's okay for Danny to say he's got a deal, and he's telling everyone, yeah, we've got a deal. And Collingwood saying, yeah, well, you really want him. But that's all well and good. Shane's got to agree. While he's over I think he was in Mauritius or somewhere, so he had no idea what was going on. I had no power of attorney for him. I'm playing district cricket that day, at the Junction Oval against St Kilda, because it was Melbourne's footy ground, home ground as well, so their officers, they were training out at the Junction Oval. I'm the captain of North. I've had to leave the warm-up to go in my spikes to take them off at the front door to go into a meeting with Danny Corcoran, Neil Danaher, Neil Barn and Mick Moldhouse. The team's warming up. Who's going to toss? So, of course, I make a duck. Not because of that, I had no other reason. I just nicked one. But it was the weirdest scenario ever. But as I said, in the end, we got the deal done. We agreed.
With many deals taking until the 12th hour, Collingwood was one of the first to strike, picking up Woewodin while handing over pick 16 to the Demons.
He'd be very hurt. He's been a very, very good player for Melbourne Footy Club. These decisions don't come very lightly. Any player in the AFL, any player who's on a substantial salary has to perform.
Back home in Perth, Woewodin launched a stunning tirade on his former club after they told members yesterday he was traded because he wasn't worth $1 million over the next 2 years.
I'm filthy at the club for doing it, and I don't know what we're going to do at the moment. Manager and I will speak about it, but it's pretty downright rude, I thought. In a letter to members also posted on Melbourne's website, the D's said under Shane's existing contract he was due to earn more than $1 million over the next 2 seasons. We genuinely believe that we could not put together and maintain a list able to successfully contest a premiership with Shane earning this amount.
It was bizarre list management by Melbourne, wasn't it? Because they had him on their list, and you think they built a team around him, and their books must have really been out of whack to have to move him on after only a couple of years into a long-term contract.
It was always going to be a tough situation. We knew that someone wouldn't be there at the end of it, but I think at the end of the day it was about as best a situation we could have hoped for. We're not going to lose Uzo, we're not going to lose Johnson. We can now go and offer contracts to Robertson, Powell, James McDonald, Chris Lamb, so they're well aware of the situation and the pressure we're under as a club.
Danaher says on numerous occasions before and during the trade period, he spoke with the Brownlow medalist about his future. Following yesterday's stunning turn of events, it remains to be seen when, if ever, the two parties speak again.
I'm quite happy to have a chat with Shane anytime. Terrific fella, but I guess he's got to want to be able to have a chat with the club or myself.
My relationship now with the coach and I suppose the board and Danny Corcoran at the club is sour, and I haven't spoken to him, and I won't.
It caused a bit of friction between him and Neil for a little period, but they're good mates now. Neil's a great person, but at the time things get pretty heated throughout that period, so a few choice words to Danny Corcoran at the time. I mean, that's just, it gets emotional, but my view with trading has always been the same, that the minute it's over you shake hands and you get on with it, because you've got to deal with clubs.
We thought it was a good deal, and so we did it, yeah. And he bought a lot from that point of view as well. He was a real pro, Shane, you know, just prepared fantastically, you know, diet-wise, training-wise. So, and I reckon Melbourne might have paid a little bit of his money as well, because we were quite tight on the salary cap. It was a big story. Well, anything to do with Collingwood's a big story, obviously, but you know, it was a Brownlow medalist who changed clubs, and probably in those days it wasn't as common as it is now.
As far as bombshells go, Shane Woewodin to Collingwood was one that happened so quickly. That was clearly, from my perspective, the one that just took me by surprise the most.